Hey folks, it's Dr. Brad Semp here, aka the Busyness Doctor, and I'd like to welcome you to the Busyness TV show on busyness.com. This is the show dedicated to helping you to get out of busyness and get down to business. Today's show was brought to us by Lisping.com. Lisping is an email management and autoresponder service geared to helping you to build large and responsive email lists. You can create an account right now for only $1 by visiting Lisping.com. In today's episode, I'm going to talk first about feasible actions. And then I have a special interview with a business consultant and strategist, one of the best in the world, a gentleman by the name of Paul Lemberg. And I'm going to show you today part one of a two-part interview. And then lastly, we're going to wrap up with the first ever Unbusy Minute. Hey folks, it's now time for our Design for Action segment. This is a segment in which we take a look at designing your actions, or what I call design for action. And it simply means that you need to take control of your actions, be proactive in designing them rather than being reactive and allowing your actions to control you and to control your day. Now, cute little story. My son Owen, right? He's second. He's our 7-year-old, second in the line, not in priority or favoritism. But he on April Fool's Friday, April 1st, he said to my wife and I, he drew this little drawing. But before that, he said, "You know, Dad, my cousin's coming tomorrow, Kevin." And he said, "I'd really like to do an April Fool's joke on him. How about we use a bucket and we dump water on his head? The only thing though, Dad, is we're just gonna have to put a hole in the wall to do it." And I kind of looked at him like, "No, we're not gonna put a hole in the wall." And he's like, "I got a great plan though. It's just a hole in the wall, Dad." He's like, "Look, I drew this up." So again, this is what he drew. So take a look at this. So if you look at this, there's a walkway that's coming in from the one side and curving down, and then there's a vertical door there, and above the door, where I've circled it in red, is the bucket. And I have an arrow pointing to the top of the bucket, and that's where he explained to me is the hole, that we need to stick a nail through the bucket and pound it into the wall. It actually turns out it wasn't a hole, it was just a nail in the wall that he wanted. But he said again, "Dad, I have this great idea for April Fool's Day of how we can dump water on Kevin's head. The only thing we're going to have to do is put a hole in the wall." And I just chuckled. And what can we draw from this example? Well, feasible actions, right? He had an awesome plan here. His intentions were great, funny as can be. However, the execution of the actions, right, that he designed simply was not feasible, at least in the eyes of Mom and Dad. So for you, as you're designing for action, how feasible are your actions? You can have the greatest intentions. You have to make sure that the actions that you design are going to bring you to that intention so that you meet it, but they're also feasible along the way. So think about that. Let me know what you think about that little story about Owen and what you think about feasible actions. I'd love to know. Scroll down below and comment. Please leave a comment and let me engage with you in that comment area. So I want to hear from you. It's now time for our I Hate Guru segment. This is a segment in which I interview experts, not gurus. And today I have a very, very, very special guest. Now, he's a business consultant and strategist, one of the best in the world. He also works with Fortune 100 executives, and his courses have been purchased and are used by tens of thousands of people around the globe. He's also the author of an awesome book titled Be Unreasonable. So I'd like to welcome to the show right now, Paul Lemberg. Watch this. So Paul, welcome to the Busyness TV show. I'm glad you're here.
Hey Brad, thanks for having me.
Awesome. Well, let's jump right into this. The first thing I'd like to talk about is your book. It's called Be Unreasonable. It's an awesome book. And in it, you talk about stepping beyond what's expected to transform into something extraordinary and produce unprecedented results. And you've got, I know, many different strategies and tactics and stuff in there. The one I really want to hit on first is something near and dear to my heart, and that's the system side of things. And I read about one in there. It was called Be Critical by Changing Old Systems That Just Do Not Work. And for my platform and my clients, I work with folks, and we teach different concepts, systems concepts, focused on action, to design for action rather than allowing actions to control them. So I'd love to hear your perspective on that and what you teach your clients to do on that Be Critical side related to systems.
So here's the whole be unreasonable thing in a nutshell. That people are doing whatever it is that they're doing, and they've been doing it forever, and for the most part, they don't want to change. Change is uncomfortable, and they're very happy, and this is at an individual level, at a corporate level, at an organizational level, at a global level. It doesn't matter that people will just keep perpetuating whatever it is that they're doing, whether or not it's working, just because it's easier than doing anything else.
It's doing something, right? They feel like
they're just doing what they're doing, and they don't have to change. Most human beings resist change. They hate change. You know, if you go back to, say, prehistoric man, all change was bad, right? If you think of it, well, the weather's changing. Well, that's going to be bad. Or the environment's changing a little bit. Oh, that must mean it's a saber-toothed tiger. It's like all change is dangerous. And I think, fast forward to the 21st century, people see change as dangerous. So that means that if there is a system in place for doing something, right, we're already supposing that there's a system. But if there's a system in place for doing something, people will keep using it because it produces a result. If it completely breaks and stops producing any result at all, then typically people will, at that point, try to re-engineer it. But for the most part, if it is producing some level of result, they go, well, we got a result. It's why you have websites that convert at 0.5% or 1%, when it's been shown that through optimization, you can get a website producing 20, 30, 40% conversions, and the top retailers are converting at 40%, and the bottom retailers are converting at 0.5%. It's because they have some results, so they don't change it. So what I'm suggesting is that you systematically go through and say, here are all our systems. We teach a model called blueprinting. And blueprinting is like such an overused word. If I could go back, I'd call it something else now. But blueprinting means laying down the foundation which shows all the individual elements of your total system. And if you say your company is a system, then you have systems in the marketing area, and you'd break all those down. Well, we have lead gen systems, and we have communication systems, and we have a system for PR. And then if we were over in sales, we've got a system for generating proposals. And we have a system for qualifying leads, and we have a system for talking to the decision maker. And then the finance guys, well, they have their system. We have a system for keeping the books. We have a system for borrowing money. We have, all these things. And so you would lay out what all the systems are in your area, from small to, or rather from large to small. And then it's like, well, which ones aren't working as well as we'd like them to? And literally say, where are the areas that we could make, what could we make better? People don't walk around, for the most part, most people in most companies do not walk around and say, what could we make better around here? What they do is they say, what's broken that we have to fix?
That's right.
What's broken that we have to fix will get you a 5 to 10% consistent gain over the course of time, but it won't double your business in 12 months.
Right.
Now, if we're talking to people who are at the large corporate end of things, doubling their business in 12 months isn't so easy. But if we're talking about people who are at the small entrepreneurial end of things, doubling your business in 12 months isn't hard at all. Just look around and say, what are we doing not as well as we might be able to do it? What could we make better, and how could we? So now roll that into the Be Critical strategy, which says, here are the ways that we do things. Which ones don't produce the results we want? And now start asking bigger questions. To me, this rolls into another question, which is, okay, what kind of gains are you shooting for as a business? So if you're shooting for 10% gains, you know what? The market growth will carry you along for the most part if you don't screw up. But if you're shooting for 100% gains, well, now you're asking a question which says, how would we double this business? And now you've laid out all these systems that you have which are supporting your business. Say, well, if we were looking to double our business, where are the likely candidates? And now we start focusing on, well, here's the thing, let's make it better. You know that old saying, if it's not broke, don't fix it. And somebody wrote a book, First Break It. And
Yeah, yeah.
You know, I mean, it's a pretty good idea. You're going to look and say, what are the likely candidates, not for breakage, but what could we do better?
Right, right.
And that, to me, is fundamental to the whole idea of being unreasonable. What could we do better that's working just fine right now?
Yeah, I love it. And you've made many, many great points there, Paul. One of the things from a mindset perspective, in the way that people are resistant to change, you know, from a prioritization standpoint, and you talk about being proactive and reactive, you know, we're rather than being reactive to what is broken, you know, be proactive about what we could fix. And then you've got
right.
the change. I've got two-part question here. The first part is, how do you work with those employees or team members that are resistant to change? And then the follow-up question to that is, you're being proactive and identifying the things that, you know, to double your business or whatever it is that you want to be proactive on the change side.
Right.
How do you prioritize those? Because most of us, right, have many things that need to be fixed or we could be doing better.
Okay. So this is good. But didn't they teach you in interviewing school not to do two-part questions?
I just want to throw you for a loop because
people like me who confuse easily. I might just hang up on one of them and never get to the other.
The good thing is I saw that you wrote them down, so we're good. You're an experienced interviewee.
It's my only defense against these kinds of things. So the first one is, how do you work with people who are resistant to change? I used the Ritz-Carlton response.
Yep.
So years ago, Ritz-Carlton had a campaign, and the question was, people want to know, how do we hire? Right? No, they want to know, how do we train our people to be so happy and friendly? Mm-hmm. And the answer is, we only hire people who are happy and friendly. So I really believe that there are, if you were to divide the world into two people, that there are two kinds of people, that there are people who are pro-change and people who are resistant to change. And if you look at all the major personality tests, your relationship to change is typically one of the key axes.
Yep.
And I'm one of those people that's like off the charts in terms of I like change. Mm-hmm. And so my first answer is, I want to hire people who are flexible. Yeah. If in my corporate values, one of our key values is flexibility. Mm-hmm. And I think that that's a real virtue in terms of, if you want to move forward and want to have things be interesting, you got to have people who are flexible. So that's what I'm going to start there.
Yep.
But that's sort of I'm sort of bailing out on your question by saying don't hire those people.
Yeah.
So let's try to get into it and do a little bit better.
Yep.
Which is, people will change when they see a clear motivation. In other words, what's in it for them, right? If you want to change my job description to make your life better, that doesn't interest me very much. Mm-hmm. Whereas if you want to change how I do things and there's a payoff for me, then I might be willing to listen. I may be one of those people who's so anti-change that the payoff just doesn't cut it.
Yeah.
So, but this is really all about motivation in terms of finding out what's in it for them. In my systems course, in Turnkey Your Business, we teach people, it's a kind of a meta systems. It's a system for how to create systems. Mm-hmm. And one of the key parts of the system is, how do you get your team to buy in? And there always has to be a payoff for them. Many people in corporations resist systems because they feel like it will threaten their jobs. That's right. If you systemize what I do, you're going to take out all my creativity and then you're going to be able to fire me.
That's right.
And I say it's the exact opposite, which is that if you're sort of a low-level cog in a machine, I can go out and buy more cogs in a machine. In fact, if you're a cog in a machine, I can buy one from China at about 1/3 of your cost. And I can buy one in the Philippines at about 1/10 of your cost.
Yep.
So I don't want to be a cog in a machine. I want to be something that's a highly specialized, knowledge-based input that isn't easily replaced.
Yep.
So that's number one. Mm-hmm. Number two is, well, you're going to whack out my creativity. I got to tell you, Brad, I don't want to be creative about how I order supplies. Mm-hmm. I don't want to be creative about how I put the gasoline in my car. I don't want to be creative about how I pay my bills each month. Mm-hmm. Those are things I want highly systemized so nobody has to think about them.
That's right.
I want to be creative about how I create new material, about how I talk to customers, because that's kind of interesting. So I believe that the pitch for people resistant to change is, number one, what we're going to do is make your work more interesting. Number two is we're going to free the humanity within you and allow you to become creative so that not only is it more interesting on a daily basis, but you become increasingly valuable to the organization. You're not valuable to your organization by being irreplaceable. You're valuable to your organization by what you bring as new input. Yep. Your steady state input, the things that you do repeatedly over the course of time, are not valuable to your organization because they can be systemized and you can be replaced. Yep. And they're creating whatever value they create yesterday anyway. So now, if what we do is we free you up to be a human being who's actually going to be thinking about things, who could add some creativity to your work, all of a sudden your level of value increases. Yep. So to me, that's the sales pitch. Yeah. Change needs to be sold to people as a way of improving their condition, whatever it is, whether they want more money, whether they want more free time, whether they want creativity, whether they want more time with their family, whether they want freedom from stress. Yep. Who knows what people want? But they want one of those things.
Yeah,
maybe they
want
to come closer to their creator. Yeah. Whatever it is, that's where you sell those people that change is going to move you farther along that. So that's
awesome.
number one.
Awesome wise words there, Paul.
So welcome back. I hope that you enjoyed part one of the two-part interview series with business consultant and strategist Paul Lemberg. And as you can see, Paul is just filled with pearls of wisdom and unbelievably sound advice. He's a brilliant man when it comes to growing businesses. And I hope you're taking notes, and I hope that you come back next week to watch part two of the interview with Paul. Now, I want to apologize also for some of the technical difficulties. We kind of split this at a point when Paul's Skype went down. And we just learned in these businesses in today's day and age that at times technology doesn't function the way that we would like. So a little bit less in the video quality than I'd like, but I hope still that you enjoyed that, and we'll come back next week to watch part two of the interview with Paul Lemberg. And don't forget, if you want to find out about Paul, visit him at his website at paullemberg.com. Dr. Brad Semp here with the Unbusy Minute. Today I want to talk about technology and how it pervades us. It's like a net that holds us down. As good as technology is, as powerful as it is freeing and liberating and automating as it can be for tasks at hand, it literally acts like a fishnet. It holds us down and keeps us captive, doesn't let us free, and never lets our minds rest. So the computers, the phones, everything else, your job is to find comfort and solace in quiet time away from the technology. So how is it that you accomplish this? Well, let's start with one action unit per day. Unplug for 15 minutes each day, find that comfort and solace, and then work yourself to 2 action units per day, even to an hour per day, or even to a day or week hiatus from technology. That's today's Unbusy Minute. That wraps up the show for today. I'd like to thank you for being here, watching episode number 14 of the Busyness TV show. Thank you for listening to our son Owen's story, as well as the first half of the interview with Paul Lemberg, and remind you to come back next week when we roll out the second half of that informative interview with Paul. So thanks for being here, and also want to remind you to register for show notifications to receive updates every time a new episode of the Busyness TV show is released. And you can do that by visiting us at busyness.com and entering your email address, or by subscribing to our feed at iTunes. So for that, I'm Dr. Brad Semp. I look forward to seeing you back here, same time, same place, next week. Take care and bye-bye.